Well, I just want to welcome everyone back. This is Wednesday. We're doing high schools. We're diving deep. We're talking with the experts, the stakeholders, the guides, the people that are leading us through this safe return to sports. You're listening to Ready to Play Week. We're here trying to do some good with the radio station, with over the airwaves. We're telling stories about what is happening in the world of sports, covering the whole gamut. But today we're focused on high schools. And I'm really honored. I think that being able to try to get to the top level of decision-making, of guidance, of who's helping dictate the proper way of returning to sports, it's no better than to go to the associations that run our high school athletics. And so joining me is Bill Faflick from Kansas High School. Oh, shoot, I had this. Sorry, Bill. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Very good. Hey, I'm here at the Kansas State High School Activities Association.
State High School Athletics Association. You're the president. How long have you been in that position?
This is beginning my third year here at the Activities Association. I'm a lifetime educator. I'm a teacher at heart, a coach at heart. Have had some great experiences. Spent 32 years in the Wichita Public Schools working with the great kids and the staff down there, and relocated to Topeka and have the opportunity to work with another great team here at the association.
So in a normal year, without all the crisis and what social injustice and everything, what would you normally be dealing with? What would normally July look like for you?
Well, we're trying to make this July as normal as possible. We're gearing up for fall activities, but we're doing so with both eyes focused on the health crisis that we are experiencing, as well as the social injustice that have occurred, and really trying to prepare our schools and our school leaders and our coaches for the challenges that are ahead, the opportunities that are ahead. We look at each one of these challenges as opportunities. We're teachers, like we said, and we want kids to grow from these experiences. And sometimes the lessons that they learn are not the ones that are typical in the participation opportunities that are afforded through school sports.
I want to put a pin in that because I want to go back to that a little later. First, I want to kind of ask you about when you first heard the news that COVID was so serious, when it kind of dawned upon you that this was going to impact everything that you do to help provide sports to kids. What was your number one concern? What kept you up at night when you first started thinking about what this meant?
Well, I tell you, it has been lots of consideration for this. The first concern is always the health of our kids and the safety of our students, and in this case, the much broader concept of Kansas health and community health and the responsibility we play for that. And the real challenge is that the unknown timeline that we face, but also the unknown presence of this virus, and we don't know where it is, and we don't know how long it's going to be here, and that's why it's so important right now. We continue to teach and educate that we follow those best practices. We know what they are. We have to be faithful in the execution of washing our hands, good personal hygiene, of maintaining social distances, of following group size limits, and making sure that everything that we do now will get Kansas and the Kansas City community and all around healthier faster.
Right. I'm sure that, the coaches around the state were all kind of looking up to you for leadership and guidance. What were you able to communicate to them early on that kept them kind of engaged with their teams? Because the coaches we just talked to earlier today, they've been super involved in their athletes' lives, and it's been actually social media and Zoom calls have opened up opportunities for them to have discussions that they maybe would normally have.
Absolutely, and it was so important, and that's been a message that we have been preaching from the very beginning. Is as we teach and as we might use volleyball, or we might use basketball or drama or debate or whatever that happens to be. But bottom line, kids need the adults in their lives that are investing in preparing them for the future. And so staying connected has been so important for our schools. And when it came down to the very difficult decision to cancel state basketball tournaments in Kansas after the quarterfinal rounds. The message to the coaches was, take care of your kids, take care of your communities, because they have had great seasons. It didn't end the way we wanted it to. And the spring, certainly, as Kansas closed schools and we were forced with really no other option other than to eliminate all of our spring championship activities, we knew that coaches needed to continue to play a part in the lives of their student athletes and student participants. And this is the same whether it's debate and speech, or whether it's the performing arts on the stage, or whether it happens to be baseball, softball, track and field, and all the other traditional athletic activities. As an activities association, we have a lot of reach to many, many kids, and spring is our busiest time of the year in terms of number of participating kids.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of work. Early on, when I was thinking of how to put ShareWaves together, I had the opportunity to meet Mickey Masterson from Blue Valley, just an amazing athletic person, athletic director, been involved at the state level, helping kind of lead a few years with the athletic directors association. And it was interesting, the conversation I had. I'm sitting in Blue Valley in the middle of Johnson County. I grew up Shawnee Mission, East Lancer, and I always call Johnson County La La Land. I feel so blessed to be able to be raised here, and obviously I'm from a big family, one of 8 kids. It's not like we had it all, but we definitely had more than what other people have experienced. One thing that struck me about my conversation with Mickey was his description of some of the things that happen inside of Blue Valley in terms of the haves and the have-nots, the kids that have access to the right equipment, the right shoes, and kids that don't. They show up and they're a little less. It strikes me as something that you must have to pay attention to, even though Kansas has such a diverse population, Wichita and Kansas City, Kansas, and an urban feel to it, and then the rural feel to it that Coach Hayden was talking about. His 90% Caucasian. Most of his kids, don't come from impoverished, low-income background. But that still exists in Kansas, right? I mean, that's still part of how we have to think about youth sports is how we make sure that young kids get access that can't afford it.
Absolutely true. This is one of the concerns with this virus, but what educators work on all the time is narrowing that gap, and that's an education gap, that's an opportunity gap. How many words are spoken at home to a youngster as they're developing impacts how they learn throughout the rest of their schooling years, and so it's so important that those barriers are reduced and communities rally around those that may have experienced some setbacks or simply don't have sources to reach out and provide those opportunities for kids to be involved so that they can have experiences that connect them to school, that connect them to a positive experience, whether it's an adult, whether it's the skills they learn about setting goals, overcoming adversity, being part of a team, collaborating, communicating, working together as that part of a team or part of a program is so important, and it should not be defined by a zip code. Right. It should be defined by the opportunity that kids have. And Kansas is incredibly diverse, as you mentioned, both geographically as well as in terms of socioeconomic status. And you'll see some schools, and I came out of a Wichita district that had the exact kinds of scenarios that I'm sure Mr. Masterson was referring to, where some schools might have a 90% free and reduced student population, where they qualify at the national level for that federal assistance because they need to be able to eat, and we provide those meals. But how then, as a district, do we provide support so that those school kids can participate as members of their school team and benefit just like those whose parents had provided those opportunities all through their lives? So it is a challenge. We want that gap to be reduced. We certainly want to do everything we can to be part of the solution in that regard.
Yeah, in sports, lends itself to that endeavor so much. There's so many life lessons that you can learn from being a part of a team. working to fight to win. How do you lose with dignity and sportsmanship? How do you work together to achieve different goals for a team? One thing about COVID that's been interesting is athletes have been challenged to personally take care of themselves, stay ready to play, so to speak, and it's really opened up the opportunity to for us to challenge us as individual athletes. How are we going to get up every day and keep ourselves active? How are we going to give kids 60 minutes of activity every day when they don't even have recess? So I'm sure some of those things have challenged you, and what is it about that we can do to keep encouraging athletes to take personal responsibility for themselves?
Well, I think that the first message is that one of the consistent messages that we provide is coronavirus, COVID-19 will not define who our kids are, that we will work with them to help overcome that obstacle, to be creative, to find other avenues to which they can engage, they can grow, they can benefit, they can be prepared for that next opportunity. It certainly is going to be a great reward once we get back to it. It's that much more special and significant for a student when they get that opportunity to participate as a part of a school practice or putting on that uniform to represent their school, that they've earned that right to participate because they've met the academic standard, they've met the citizenship expectations, they've done the work and earned that opportunity to run that race, to be on that court or on that pitch and participate. So it will be certainly, that is a process that takes time and it takes support, and we want to make sure that we're providing that for our kids so that this temporary setback is only temporary but doesn't define their future opportunities. And we'll impact them now, but it's our responsibility to help them see beyond that immediate impact to what still can be possible.
That's awesome. It's quite a task you have in front of you, and I'm sure you're busy making plans for the future, and then contingency plans, and then plan Bs, and I can't even imagine. You said fall sports are going to happen, and we all hope and wish it does. What is the schedule to just try to get them back out on the field sometime in August and start working through, with as much current information as we have, how each sport is going to come back online? What's your plan?
Absolutely. As you said, we have plans and we have contingency plans, and then we have contingency plans for those contingency plans. And it's really been a series of, with this particular situation, things have been so fluid and things have changed, and, we're learning more, which is good. We know that there is going to be some risk involved as we move forward, but there's also benefit from participation. And there will be risk, I think, until there is some type of vaccine that is in place and some type of response that the medical community will provide that will turn this virus into something much more like how we deal with chickenpox now, and how we can vaccinate and be prepared and protect our kids and our communities from the impact of something like that. Now, it's a long stretch because we're a long ways from having that vaccine and being prepared to take care of that. But we know that risk is there, so we have to have those mitigation protocols in place, and we need to practice them. We need to know now that what we do is going to impact the future, and there's nothing that's so important now that we should compromise what is on that horizon. So if that means that we restrict our travel, if it means that we have more individual practices and sessions as opposed to the traditional group summer activities and camps, those are certainly things that should be encouraged, and we need to take care of those, especially that are high risk. There may be some kids that don't get to participate because they themselves have some type of immunocompromised situation, or it may be somebody in their home and they do not want to be that carrier and take that into their home, to a parent who might be going through about with an illness that is life-threatening in and of itself, and then the presence of the coronavirus or COVID-19 could further complicate them and compromise that. So we have to be very careful, and teaching and educating and monitoring is so important. And whether it's screening kids as they come into practice every day and work with coaches over the summer and checking for fever, checking for cough, checking for sore throat, checking for their temperature, asking them, have they traveled, have they been around anybody that's been exposed, are all important steps that we need to take now. We talk about pillars of preparedness or pillars of risk minimization and mitigation. It starts with people taking care of themselves and maintaining that appropriate personal hygiene. It continues through education, and it is a huge part of that is communication. What I know is best practice, I need to share. We need to share that and use our platform to be able to do that so that those plans can be in place. And if there is an issue, we need to be able to communicate that with integrity so that we don't compromise and let that really good tailback come out and come to practice when they know that there could be an issue, and we don't know sometimes, and they may have to sit for a couple of weeks and do that self-isolation so that they can be protecting their team for down the road. There's no one individual that really is immune to this, even though they may be asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic and it may not show up. If they have any of those signs, they need to talk to local health providers, their doctors, their primary care folks, and really get that addressed and follow those recommendations that are put out by our local health authorities.
So, and I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, and I don't, for me, I don't really quite understand. Obviously, you're part of school system, and is there an economic impact that you feel like high school athletics is going to absorb or feel in any kind of way? Is there a concern on your part that we're going to be underfunded or have to cut budgets even more than we've already had to? What are your feelings around that? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just wondering.
No, it's a great question. As an activities association, our association is based upon the receipts. The majority come from our ticket sales at our championship events. And that's not just the state championship, but the lead-in rounds. And
right.
Just like we count on those, our regular season gate receipts fund local school districts programs. And that interscholastic activity program is funded by ticket sales for the musical and for debate entry fees and for gate admissions at basketball tournaments or basketball contests and football games. So when folks don't come to those contests and or if we don't have those contests and those gate receipts go away or are minimized, there can be some challenges that schools will have to be creative and find other resources that might be available. As an association, we're certainly very cognizant of some tightening of the budget and making sure that we're able to continue to be relevant and supportive of our schools as they move forward so that when those fall sports do come with accommodations, and I really didn't answer your last question, and I apologize for that, but we're planning for the fall, but we know it's not going to be the same fall. There's going to be some ways that we look different moving forward, and that's really on an activity-by-activity basis, and it may be on a geographically proximate basis too, where you're not playing football in an area, or you're not playing volleyball in an area, or if you're doing that playing volleyball, that there's not all the team huddles and there's not switching of sides after every game, but you do your best to minimize that interaction, to maintain the social distancing. Though it's going to be a challenge in some of our activities, much more so in some than others.
Well, I want to continue to encourage everyone out there that are fans of youth sports or just love the idea of kids out doing the right things, staying off the streets, staying off the screens, having physical activity, enjoying the time with their friends. Encourage people to look for ways to help support youth sports. Wear masks when you're watching youth sports. I think it's critically important that the fans in the stands are staying safe so that everyone stays safe. We want to encourage those thoughts, those ideas. I'm sure you do too, and that's something really important. as we finish this and close out, Ready to Play Week is something that we thought of as a way to really bring the most critical information. Is there something that we don't want to miss, or some sort of final answer that you want to give as we kind of broadcast out to the community about how high school athletes play such a critical role in the development of our young kids? The research I've done, it's unbelievable the impact that youth sports has in high school sports has on the development and trajectory of someone's life and career. Everything seems to be elevated when they engage with sports. Is this something you want to kind of finish off with a piece about that?
Well, I think that's incredibly appropriate to end with why we do what we do, and that's because we know that education-based activities teach those life lessons that no matter how great a math teacher you happen to be, kids are probably not as too excited about coming to factor polynomials and solve quadratic equations, but as much as they are excited about playing in a volleyball tournament or being on stage or being in a debate tournament. So, those activities connect kids to school. They provide incentive for that, and yet they hold kids accountable. We talk about 20/20 vision all the time, and I know your theme about, being able to see clearly, a good 20/20 vision is seeing clearly on the horizon. Well, activities provide that future perspective, but they also let you see clearly what's right before you because you're being held accountable right now. We know kids in activities graduate at a higher rate. They have better post-secondary opportunities. They learn those life lessons that help them be successful now, as well as being prepared for that next opportunity in life and to achieve at that highest level. So there's huge benefits for participation. We want to be able to do that as soon as it's safe and appropriate to do so. To get there, we need everybody's help right now. And that help is following those pillars of personal hygiene, of taking care of yourself, universal masking. It may not be the coolest thing in the world, and you may not want to do that for one reason or another, but do it because you have a cause bigger than yourself, and that's the kids in our schools. And I think that's so important to know that there is something bigger than us, and that is an opportunity for those around us.
Well, that's it. That's what this is all about. And I really appreciate you making the time for us. I know we kind of sandwiched you in here, but it's been a really incredible conversation. It's Wednesday's session is all about high school sports, and having the head of Keisha on here is really we're blessed by it. So thank you so much. And look forward to on down the road sharing more with you about ShareWaves, about what we're trying to do to help promote sports participation and help level the playing field. So thank you so much for your time today. And please listen.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll see you at the ball game.
Yes, sir. Thank you.